Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting, February the 8th. So I got muted, I guess. Yeah, everybody got muted at the same time. Okay, we'll start again then. I don't know if we'll call the meeting to order. There's an agenda. Everybody seen the agenda? Is there anything that anybody wants to add, or seeing none? A motion to approve the agenda as presented. Moved by Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Sonia. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded, carried. Anybody have a conflict of interest declaration? If you have one, when we get to any of the items, you can declare it at that time, or unless you want to declare it now, it's up to you. Seeing none, we have a presentation tonight. We have our MLA, the Honorable Colton LeBlanc, and I guess he's here to hear some of our concerns, if we have any concerns, and maybe bring us up to date on other things that the government is up to. So Colton, I guess we'll turn the floor over to you.
Good evening, Warden Council. Thanks for accepting the invitation to meet. It's great to be able to do these. Usually do them once a year, but if there's a need to do them more frequently, certainly make myself available to do that. I think most of them, I think the 3 of them that we've done so far have all been virtual, but perhaps the next one sooner than later can be in person. So it was an opportunity to check in with council to discuss, of course, regional and local priorities, answer any questions that you may have. I appreciate the ongoing, very positive working relationship with council. I hear from some more than others, and always willing to help out in whatever capacity I can. I'm not sure, Warden, how you'd like to proceed. I appreciate the advance notice of some of the topics. I wish question period was like that sometimes. You get an idea of where you're gonna get questions on, but no, it certainly helped be better prepared for this evening's meeting. I do know that there's a number of public works questions and municipal affairs, so I don't know if you want to break them down in that order.
We can do it that way, and if there's any other questions, I mean, if you have a list of questions, you may as well go with those, and then we'll go to council to see if anybody else has anything else to add or other questions to ask. So yes, you're on. Go ahead if you have those questions that you want to talk about. Very
good. Yeah, no, so there was I think about 6 or 7 that were forwarded along that fell within the purview of public works. So one was road signage, fixing the sides of the roads, and brush cutting. So welcome to, and also the flood issue on Highway 334. I am aware of some issues on the 334, but I guess maybe with those 4 there, we can have a wholesome discussion, fulsome discussion on those, and see what the concerns of council are.
Mm-hmm. So who had sent? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Sonia.
Hi, thank you, Mr. LeBlanc, and it's a pleasure to have you on. I put the road signage up there because it's been addressed before, especially in the Comoes Hill area, from the Black Pound Road down to the end of the pavement where the East and West Comoes Hill Road start. There's 7 or 8 missing signs, and I've talked to TIR in the past about this. I actually gave the location and what the signs were, and and to no avail. I mean, right now, there's no markings whatsoever for the Black Pond Road on the Como's Hill side. So it's long overdue. There's just too many in a short area.
Any other?
Councillor Bork, you had your hand up, and then Councillor, I saw Councillor Surratt.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Road signage is a thing in my district too. They've done a couple, but there's still some that we have a sign, a brand new sign that was put in. It's not that long ago. It was the one that indicates the Lower East Wharf, and somebody pulled it, must with a wheeler or something, broke the sign in half. So the middle of the sign is gone. So that's never been replaced. So that it's an eyesore to see something like that. And my other beef would have been the sides of our roads on the east side. So that would be the 3. And a lot of this, I've sent in requests more than once. And I could say I sent it in 3 times, and I went up and down the roads, and I marked everywhere where the side of the roads should be fixed. Because if you're walking or you're on a bicycle or anything like that, and you hit the shoulder, well, you're a goner, or even a vehicle. And they're quite deep. They're up to my ankle, some of them. A lot of them are up to my ankle. So that there has never been addressed. And that there has been like that since they've paved the road down this way. So that's been a while. And brush cutting too is another thing that they, around their guardrails and all that kind of stuff. So, and that was, and I think Richard had sent in also for the Nikhil turnoff. That's another issue that has to be addressed. So I'd just like to know where that's at right now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Surratt.
Hi, Colton. Colton, just a couple of things. At the UNSM or Nsfm, 4 years ago, I had brought up to the TIR, the Minister for TIR, Lloyd Hines, about the signs in our area. And 4 years ago, I had gone over the municipality. I had counted 75 signs that needed to be addressed. They were either half the poles were falling down, some there was just a pole left. And he told me at the time that, he told me it was a question during question period we had with the ministers. And he suggested that they do some kind of a thing like they're doing for gravel roads. There was a program done for gravel roads. And he said, give us a couple of years, see if we can't put signage there. Well, of course, there you go. That never happened. Just to tell you another quick thing, when they did the bridge, Surratt's Island, Spruce Point, the Surratt's Island sign, Spruce Point sign, were not installed. It took us 6 years, 2020, and I called every year to get the signs put back in. And finally in 2021, 7 years, we finally got both signs put up. They did the Morris Island Bridge, which very grateful for last year, and the Morris Island sign is off. And I've been calling for that twice now, and there's nothing there. And I presume it's going to be the same racket before we can get a sign. Those are my concerns. Thank you.
Councillor Boudreau.
Good evening, Colton. I've got the concern about the flooding on Highway 334 between the Surratt Road and the Coberon Road. I'm not an engineer by any means, but I don't think it's going to take a lot of money to fix the issue. I think it only needs a few more drains to help that water run out. And I've also got another area in Whitesport that floods at high tide, and that's at the breakwater. And also, I don't think it would cost a lot of money because it just needs a bigger culvert so the water can drain out. And I've taken pictures. I'm gonna send them to you on both sites. So those are my concerns. Thanks, Colton.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Colton, for being easy to get a hold of most of the time, return my calls most of the time. I know you said you talk to some of us more than others. I might be one of those. Maybe sometimes you might want to put me on block or something like that, but that's all right. But thank you for being there for the people. I'll start off with that. The issues, I guess, of signs is an issue in our area as well, down here, or in my area as well. I will say though, on some of the signs, TIR comes out, puts them up, and within 2 or 3 weeks' time, somebody steals them or takes them down. And and I will say that. So that's not their fault there. There is a few signs down. One big issue, well, there has to be some graveling done on the sides of the roads and that. One big issue that I've heard about the last couple of days, and I had a text on it here this morning, is just about 50 meters towards West Pubnico, right down by where the dairy treat is in Pubnico Head. There's a big hole coming in the road there. And a lot of people that's coming from West Pubnico and that will go around it to try and avoid it, but then they are crossing into an oncoming lane of traffic. So that there's really dangerous, has the potential, and that they'll create an accident one of these days. So I know we have some nice weather coming up later on through the week, and maybe it would be a chance for them to go out and, if nothing else, put some pave in it for now, just and hopefully take care of that till the summer, and then hopefully maybe do something more permanent come summertime. Right now, that's all I'm gonna say right now. Thank you.
Councillor Dr. Mall.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, Minister LeBlanc, for being here tonight and listening to our concerns here in the municipality. Councillor Digdon, thank you for pointing out the hole in close to the dairy street, because I think I've probably hit it before. So it's thank you for addressing that one. I have the same issues in my district with signs, a few signs missing, shoulder issues, of course. And on the Pond Road, there is a hole right in the middle of the road in front of, I don't know which civic number it is, but it's getting close to where it starts to gravel. The hole keeps getting bigger and bigger. Concerned citizens have called TIR. They reported it. I have. And anyway, it's still there. It's still a hole. It keeps getting bigger. It's another one that I've hit myself. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Hopefully you have more pull with TIR than I have, because I didn't even get a response. So anyway, a little bit disappointed on that. So thank you.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you. Okay, same issues as everybody else, but to add, I guess, I'm thankful that finally Rocco Point Road is on that 5-year plan. I'm just as happy as Guy is with the Tittle being on there as well, some work being done. Yeah, I know he can relate and understands that. Gravel roads in general in my area it's the grading of I get a lot of complaints about the grading of the gravel roads. It doesn't happen frequently enough. And by the time they come around to grading them, it's almost been too long. So it's causing residents a lot of grief. And there's several gravel roads in my district, and they're constantly a mess. I will say though, the last time that I contacted TIR, they were quick to go in and they did. I was really pleased. A couple of requests that I had, they were quick to the draw, so I was really pleased about that. But grading and brush cutting, it's dangerous, really. The lack of it. So those are things that I hear about a lot.
And I'm not going to add anything to those, because basically what you hear is not, it's not unique to one area of our municipality. It's right through, especially the brush cutting and the signs that are missing, that have been missing, and not just the ones that are missing. ones that are there that you can't even see because of brush and trees and whatever else, you know. So anyway, I'm not going to add to any of those because basically it's the same concerns that I have. Now, do you want to address some of those? And I mean, everything that we talked about is, I know, is road related. It's not something that our municipality has the power to it's not our jurisdiction for us to do that, but that's the complaints, and that's most of the complaints that we get. That's most of the complaints I get is road related for sure. So if you want to speak on those, I think everybody has had a chance to speak. So if you want to.
Sure, thanks, Warden. So I grouped those four together because I think part of an effective solution, because I continue to reflect and ponder on how to better serve the constituents through how we receive through my office different concerns, because frankly, they're exactly what you're hearing. And I see and hit the same potholes as everybody else hits. So it is frustrating. Things do cost, unfortunately. So, you know, I mean, just the small section of guardrail that they're doing on the off ramp in Tuscot, which is much needed because it's exposed to the river. I've been told it's like $60,000. So although it might not seem like a big job, it does cost, and that I'm sure, you know, it comes out of the department's budget. So, you know, it's similar to what Councillor Bork and I believe Councillor Digdon stated. You know, some of these news signs are posted in a matter of a couple of weeks, they're gone or they're vandalized. So I can imagine that is a source of frustration for the department, but nonetheless, particularly the regulatory signs, the speed signs, and as well as the community signs are important and important to the identity of our communities. So yeah, the road signage, the fixing the side of the roads, the brush cutting, and then these flood issues. Certainly welcome to hear and hear those more, you know, more frequently, you know, from council, you know, through my office. If there's outstanding items like that, don't want to wait to our one-year meeting to discuss these, that's for sure. But I think, and I've heard mixed reviews about it, but I think the department is data driven. I know my departments are data driven. And although it may not be seen as an effective tool, but the 1-800 number, or more specifically the email address. So I can, and that's the 24/7 operations center for the Department of Public Works. And that's just a single contact. And I've had success with that before I was an elected official. And I guess one thing that I do tell constituents is to get that ticket number, because it allows for a proper follow-up by you know, an MLA, for example, or my office. So it might seem a little bit cumbersome, but it goes a long way. It's tracked into the in their system, and because I don't know if I reach out, if you reach out, how is it logged? But you know, if people call, you know, about X pothole and it doesn't get resolved, then, you know, I can pick up the phone or send an email and follow up with the department appropriately. So I think those type of situations, that the 1-800 number, the notes and the email are very beneficial, and I try to promote that, and as well as the department staff really appreciate that, and then they themselves promote it. So yeah, certainly welcome feedback. I'm taking notes from some of the particular issues, but if there are issues afterwards that, like Councillor Digdon said, I'm pretty accessible, that we can work on these concerns that are mutually concerning. Regarding, I believe it was Councillor Bork noted the Nikhil update. I'm not sure if there's any feedback on my response to those 4 items there before I go to the Nikhil update.
Okay. Back to the flooding, and I know I wouldn't add one, but it just reminded me, there's in one area, specific area that I can give you that floods all the time. And I noticed more so the last few days because of the snow and the rain that we've had. And it's on Trunk 3 in Tuscot. just at the, just at where 308 and trunk 3 by Carl's store, where the sidewalk ends, there's a catch basin there. I know there is, but it doesn't seem to be taking the water. And I don't know if it's because it's plugged up with leaves or whatever. I don't know, but there was water running there. We were there today. I drove by there today, and there was water running right across into the parking lot of Carl's store. And I haven't seen it that bad, but it's always flooded there. And when it freezes, there's ice right where you turn off to go to 308. Just remember that, you know, and I thought I'd at least give you a specific area that I've seen.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I've experienced it even in my neck of the woods, is that this past weekend with the significant rain that we had, the frozen ground, although it was thawing, probably it was quite saturated. There's some shoulder washouts throughout the area. So departments out replacing some cross culverts, I've been told. So yeah, no, certainly making note of these. So thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, Nikhil update, as you're aware, it's not included in this year's 5-year capital plan. But as you are aware as well, last year when Deputy LaFleche, who's now Deputy of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Chief Engineer at the time, Peter Hackett, who's now the Deputy at Public Works, and other senior staff, they came down. We had the meeting at Manor Center and reviewed the plan. After that meeting, I believe it was after, we took a tour of the area of the constituency, and that was one area of concern that we spent some time. So when I continue to advocate for this project, they are very well aware of the safety concerns and the ongoing challenges being experienced by our residents. What I'll say is also that, you know, even a previous minister had identified this as one of the top 3 new construction projects. Our government, when we released our 5-year plan, we didn't add any new major construction projects. We committed, we followed through with the 5-year plan from the previous government. The minister is very well aware of this project and its significance to my constituency, to our constituency, to the residents that travel that section of highway, to the visitors that come to our area. And the minister has indicated that she will be meeting with her deputy and senior staff in the months ahead to discuss the long-term objectives and plans for the department, particularly when it comes to significant projects within the province. So I'm going to continue my advocacy for this project. It is a significant one, as you may remember when going through the plans. So it's well into the design phase, as council is aware, and it certainly remains a top priority for me. And I'm sure I am very sure to convey the importance of this to the minister and to the department.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? No, I don't see anybody. So, Mr. LeBlanc, I don't know if you have anything else to add or to.
No, not to that specific item. I think there's a couple councillors.
Okay, Councillor Surratt, you have a question, and I see Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Surratt, go ahead.
I'd just like to state here something that happened on the Tittle Road. We were experiencing flooding. They were doing graveling, some graveling at the time. And, you know, just a simple phone call to Colton. He comes down with a friggin' drone. Couldn't believe it. Comes with a drone and takes pictures of where the flooding was happening. And Colton, I tell you what you did there to take the time to come down, the residents of this end of the municipality of Argyle, we appreciate what you did, taking the time. You brought it up to the people up there, up in Halifax, and sure enough, they've got the first marsh built up 3 feet. They're starting to work on the second marsh. And you know what? A big thank you to you from all the residents down here. Fantastic job. Your commitment is second to none. Thank you very much, Colton.
Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, nothing to complain about. I just want to compliment Colton. I don't know how much he had to do with it, but there's been a fair bit of work on the, I call it the back Argyle Hay Road, the gravel road's been re-graveled. A lot of new graveling on Robert Island, which is great to see. And the only thing I might have a little complaint about, the few residents that live on the Crowell Town Road, you might like to see, well, I know they like to see a little bit of work there because it's anybody that knows it knows what it's like. So it's very narrow and needs some work. So other than that, they put up a lot of signs on Route 3 going through the Argyles. Again, some of them's been vandalized, but at least they put out a pretty good effort this summer to put signs there. So I know what they're up against, and yeah, so I'd just like to thank you for, you had much to do with that.
Okay, so do you have something else to bring up?
There was the last one that sort of falls under the umbrella of public works would be Echo Wedgeport. So I know that councils or a councillor or councillors had requested an update on that. So very briefly, there's 4 tender packages. Tender package number 3 was slated to come down from the procurement on Friday. However, there was a 2-week extension for that specific tender, and that tender there is for the structural steel for the school component as well as and that includes the daycare component. So the 18th that'll be removed and then awarded hopefully sooner than later. And then the 4th and final tender is the building and site remainder, and that tender there is anticipated to be posted later this month if all goes to plan. So as far as I understand, school is still slated to open for January 2023. You know, that's fingers crossed for no hiccups and delays along the way. And then there's still the community, and so there's still work to be done there. And there was a question regarding how to facilitate the transitioning of ownership for Echo Wedgeport. So really happy to have been able to support the municipality with that request. I recognize it would have been a significant safety and eyesore for not only the school communities, the students and staff and the parents, but also those that live in the Wedgeport area. So happy to work with the municipality and the department to get that resolved so that they'll be taking care of the school. So I think the best approach would be to engage with the real property division folks within the Department of Public Works to be that direct contact. So I can perhaps work with either Kyle or Scott for contact there, just to get the ball rolling to see how the municipality and the province can work collaboratively on that one.
Councillor Boudreau, did you have your hand up? No?
Just a quick question for Colton. The Breakwater Road, the Jacquard Road, I know it's not in the 5-year plan. Is that like, will that be out for another 5 years?
Yeah, okay, so that's a good question. I forgot to mention that one. So I guess the 5-year plan, what you see in the 5-year plan, that's significant graveling. As you're seeing in the tittle, you'll shortly see on Rocky Point Road, the Wilson Road, for example. And then there's significant paving projects such as in 2019 from Hubbard's Point to Threats Island, and then it's going to be continuing from Threats Island to Morris Island in 24-25. I've expressed be nice to get it done sooner than later, but it's nice to see on the 5-year plan. And of course, the big capital projects, your twinning of highways, your interchanges and things like that. But there are other funding streams for paving, rim paving, and a few other streams that will be patching and resurfacing and things like that, gravel here and there. But regarding the Jacquard Road, and similarly to the conversation we've had in the past regarding the Dennis Point and D'Entremont Road, sort of the same type of road, long, straight, a lot high traffic volume of transport trucks. I think there's an opportunity to engage with Public Works on this. So this is an idea that they've pitched to me for discussion and engagement with the municipality. Is through looking through trilateral agreements through like ISIP for active transport projects, and to help offset some of these costs and associated, and see if active transport fits within those communities and within the desire of council. So some of these roads are in good shape. It's just the concept of widening them. And that does come with a cost for the department. So it's that balance, but I think it'd be a great conversation to continue afterwards to see if there's some interest within the municipality, so we can engage with the department on that if the council so wishes.
Colton, would you know how wide a road is supposed to be, like for regulations? Do you know?
If it was trivia night, I might take a guess, but no.
Yeah.
No, there are standards. So depending on the class of road, if it's like a 100 series highway, it's certain width of shoulder, for example, your trunk 3, and then your arterial roads, and local and connectors and whatnot. So there are standards out there. They may be in the province's standards. I'd expect them to be. But yeah, it's depending on classification of the road. So I don't want to take a jab at that one tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll look it up one of these days.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Colton.
So I think, Warden, I think that covers off. Actually, there's one more I put into the Department of Transportation, but I just want to acknowledge the municipality's engagement for this. I'm putting my Minister of Canadian Affairs and Francophone hat on. For the desire to have bilingual stop signs in the municipality. So I know Scott's been working with my staff to see that, and hopefully sooner than later before summertime we'll have those stop signs up, and hopefully they last a little bit longer than some of the other signs that we've been just discussing. So they are costly. Just to put context there, they're $150 a sign plus installation. So you factor in that there's less than 200 stop signs in the municipality of Argyle. So if you do the math, it is significant, right? So it does impact the bottom, it impacts the bottom line here. So I guess the last one in the Public Works umbrella I had added was added to the list, and I put in that classification was the Mariner Center. So I'm not sure if perhaps the Deputy Warden wants to speak to this one.
Yeah, I can I was hoping that it was going to come up tonight. I just wanted, and I've mentioned before to our council how much work you've done on this file and how much you've helped, and you've been a great resource for us. But I guess we're kind of in limbo and waiting, and just wondering if you can give us any more information on that file at all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Deputy Warden, and we were able to engage with Diane Surratt from the department with a virtual meeting to discuss this project. It's feedback from her and the department. It's a good project, checks off of many boxes. But I guess and I've done some personal digging into this one, both within the department and in my personal research, and this funding stream is a bit different, significantly different than what we typically see. So the Green and Inclusive Communities Buildings program is $1.5 billion. That would cover quite a few signs. $1.5 billion over 5 years, and it's a national merit-based program, and it differs from, let's say, an ISIP, the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, which is also a lot of money. It's $33 billion. And that program there is delivered through bilateral agreements with provinces and territories. So my understanding from engaging many times with the department on this file is that Infrastructure Canada, who's overseeing the Green Inclusive Community Buildings program, has sought feedback on projects, a number of projects, and then some were shortlisted. As you're aware, Mariner Center there was feedback sought from the Mariner Center Steering Committee, as well as the province, but there hasn't been any other information requested or anything else to that extent. So the province themselves are waiting for direction from Infrastructure Canada, seeing that it is it is a national or a federal government program. Again, it differs than these bilateral agreements that are more, I guess, allotment based. I think that would be a good term. So once we hear, province will be ready to see what the next steps are. So that's where we're at. But perhaps Deputy Warden, it could be time to check back in with the department and set up another check-in with Diane if that be the wish of the steering committee.
Sure. No other clues on timing? No, you haven't heard any more? Because the last conversations I've had, it should be any time, but that keeps getting pushed back as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much due to the reasoning of delays. I mean, both levels of government, federal government underwent a federal election. Whether the pandemic is playing a role into the delivery of this, I don't know. But I can reassure this council and reassure the steering committee that I've dug deep into this file and try to get those answers, and I'm trying to get to the root cause of these delays, and this is what the information that has been provided. So,
okay, thank you.
I have a question regarding that. A lot of the programs that where there's funds like that, if they're federal funds, sometimes the province has to commit something before the federal will. Is this the same kind? Because I seem to be hearing, I was under the impression that that's the way it was, that the provincial would have to commit to have it to funding so much before the federal, but then I heard the opposite, that the provincial is waiting for the federal to commit. So which one is it? Because if one waits for the other, we'll never go anywhere.
Yeah, I think to your point, Warden, in a typical funding stream, such as these bilateral agreements that we're accustomed to seeing, that's the way it goes. The application's funneled up and the province has their say going in. But in contrast to this funding stream, to the best of my understanding, is that the province wasn't aware of many applications until Infrastructure Canada called saying, what are your thoughts? What are your feedback on these projects? So the province wasn't engaged until after the applications were received. So, so I asked, to your point, is it the chicken the egg sort of thing, right? But I've been reassured, and it was echoed many times, that we're in a position where the province is waiting on Infrastructure Canada, seeing that the program is managed through them.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing nobody else wanting to speak or have questions. Is that what you have then?
Oh no, we're only getting started. These are all things that you sent me along. So I had to, I was going to say I had to take a nap this afternoon, but no, not yet. There's still a few items. So there was a few items under the municipal
that's fine.
affairs
Yes,
and municipal affairs and housing under health, and then as well as environment and climate change. So we can keep on going if you
sure.
wish.
If
All
it's
right,
okay
so-
with council, I guess we want to know as much as we can.
Yeah, so the first item under municipal affairs and housing was particularly regarding seniors housing. I mean, we're experiencing significant housing challenges in our province. I mean, it became a bigger and bigger issue as the summer went by. As we went through our first legislative sitting, we put forward as a government our plan on housing solutions for housing and homelessness back in October, which outlines a number of initiatives. And the root cause, it's a significant, as council would be aware, it's a significant supply and demand issue. I mean, the cost of housing has increased, I think the statistic was almost 12% last year. And so whether we're talking about residential properties, housing, on the real estate market, whether we're talking about rental properties, whether it be at all levels of the spectrum, whether we're talking about seniors housing, student accommodations, it is a significant supply and demand issue. And as a government, recognizing that to fix that problem is to address the supply. So it takes an all hands on deck approach. So it's looking at short-term and long-term solutions, freeing up land. So the province is looking at some of its land, providing tools for municipalities. So there was amendments brought forward for inclusionary zoning. I think that was a bigger ask for HRM, for example. Looking at apprenticeships, we need folks to build these new accommodations. So and approving projects more quickly. So those are all parts of our solutions, and including, government had announced working with NSCC for some student housing in a couple of the campuses across the province. So specific to seniors housing, we were able to work through my office with the department to find housing for a few folks. It is challenging. There are complex backstories to some of these situations, but we do our best. We also engage with our partners at the Department of Community Services for certain instances. So it is complex, and the true solutions to addressing the housing crisis in our province isn't just through municipal affairs and housing. It's through Department of Community Services. It's through Public Works, believe it or not. Minister Maslin had brought forward amendments. It is through my department at Service Nova Scotia as well. So I guess going back to seniors housing, there's no government plans, I'm told, to expand the current public housing. However, government's working with for-profit and not-profit groups from across the province, because there are incentive programs to address affordable housing development. So that's something that I'm eager to work with council if they have anybody that's interested in working on these type of investments in our communities, and so it'd be working with Housing Nova Scotia. I'm not sure if there's any specific questions from there.
Questions? I don't see any.
All right. Next one's the long-term thinking and of equalization grants and the plan from government. So we followed through with an election campaign promise of providing that additional grant in the fall. So I hope that the 155,000 for almost 155,000 was helpful for the municipality. But I'm told that all grants are under review at this time, and as you're probably aware, there's just ongoing discussions regarding a new MOU between the province and municipal units. It's just getting underway. So there's no preconditions on these discussions, and everything's on the table. So I understand that Nsfm is looking for folks with for reps on this committee, as well as AMA. and early stages to have a framework in place next year with the implementation the year later.
Anybody?
Okay.
No.
The next one's the status of revenues derived from cannabis sales and plan to disclose to municipalities. So there's been discussions ongoing through provincial municipal roundtable between the Nsfm and members of cabinet representing the Departments of Justice, the Department of Finance, and the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So the federal, provincial, territorial agreement on cannabis taxation expired in December of 2020. So a new tax agreement for the federal government and the province and territorial governments is going to be negotiated in the near future, I'm told, and it's unclear when this will begin. But as a government, we're going to listen to municipal stakeholders and throughout the process, and it to be a conversation led by Municipal Affairs and Housing to see how the conversations to have conversations regarding this file to ensure the best path forward for Nova Scotia municipalities.
Okay.
Okay. I think that covers all within the branch, the umbrella of Municipal Affairs and Housing. The next one's under environment and climate change, and was regarding the status of extended producer responsibility. So that's something as a government we've heard it's been a priority for municipalities for many years. And we introduced as a government a pretty bold and ambitious environment bill in our first session. It's the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act, and Minister Hallman led that through the legislative process. And one of the elements here is committing to an expansion of EPR as requested by municipalities. So there's ongoing engagement, stakeholder engagement. I believe that started last month. There's opportunities for Nsfm, or rather municipalities to take part in these discussions. And I can provide to the municipality a direct contact if they wish to provide that feedback to the department. But there's also regional contacts. So I believe Gus Green and Warden Linda Gregory are well engaged into this and will be part of those discussions with the province. So yeah, we're looking forward to moving forward with this one here.
We're having a meeting tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Yeah, tomorrow night. I figure it's through the Nsfm, and it's for the mayors and wardens and the CAOs. So I'm wondering if Scott or Kyle, if you received an email on that. No, because it could have gone to the CAO. I'm not sure. I'll forward the email that I received. Councillor Surratt.
Colton, just to answer you on that, on DPR, Ted, Councillor Sonia and I were at a meeting this morning with Waste Check, and we went over the questionnaire and some of the issues, and Waste Check out of this region, which covers 6 or 7, 3, 6 municipal units, and we will be responding to that, yes, on behalf of the municipalities. Thank you, Colton.
I think it's important to recognize it takes time to implement, and it takes time for municipalities that have different timelines and ability to adapt or respond rather to the established timelines. And some may have different capacities to do so. So I'm sure some are ready to rock and roll, and others may take a little bit more time to respond. So. Okay. I guess there's one more before I have a couple just things that I want to close up with, if I could. But One was about the ambulance service in our province in southwestern Nova Scotia. So.
Any questions? I figured there would be one. I saw the mute button disappear. Go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you, and I'm not gonna harp on this long tonight. First, Colton, I should have thanked you for the lights that you got for us in the commuter parking lot in Pubnico Head. Hoping to see that at some time gravelled and maybe the trees from the commuter parking lot to the 103 cut down, so it would be a clear access for people to see in there and stuff like that. Thank you for that. Just something that's much better than it was a month ago, and that's what I tell people. Let's work on it. Let's not, forget where we were. Let's think of where we're going. And as far as thinking of where we're going, I'm not going to keep this long. And that on this evening, the ambulance service in Nova Scotia, not just in Pubnico or the Argyles here this evening. On October 10, 2017, we had Mr. Fraser and Mr. Walker stood in our council chambers, told us how good of an ambulance service we was, told us how good the response times were in Nova Scotia. And they had plans, contingency plans for the future, and everything was going to get better instead of worse. The 12th of January, 2022, Sherbel Daniels, the EHS director, said he's not aware of any cases where ambulance delays harm the patient's health. Now we can go back a year or so. Mrs. McPhee, her husband died in her arms, and that half in Halifax, waited half an hour for an ambulance to get there when an ambulance should have been there within minutes. 2 months ago in Barrington, a gentleman, according to his wife, stated that he turned black while waiting for an ambulance. He subsequently died. Down here in minutes away from the ambulance base in Barrington, down here in Pubnico, we had two daughters of a gentleman doing CPR for over half an hour on their father, and that where the ambulance, if you went out to the end of where his driveway was and to where the ambulance base was, you could literally wave to somebody at the ambulance base. Things are going backwards in Nova Scotia as far as the ambulance service. Great paramedics are leaving, wanting to get out of this system down here, and something has to be done. I once talked with a politician, and I asked him how we could get the ambulance service back in Pubnico, and that politician told me and that we have to change the government. Well, the government's been changed, and I hope we can see some improvements other than the few vans that they put on across the province. I hope there's some real improvements coming in the service across the province, and that's the whole service, because you can go to a lot of these rural areas, it's the same thing. Paramedics, I cannot say enough about the paramedics in this province. Top notch and professional all the way. But I'm not going to keep it going any longer than that, because it seems like sometimes I'm beating a dead horse, or sometimes, I guess in this case, beating a dead patient. Thank you.
A response to that, or?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comments, Councillor Digdon, and I'm not going to shy away from the fact of the condition or the state of healthcare in our province. It's something as a government we campaign on addressing. It's something as a government we inherited problems, and some are bigger than expected. I hear it. We both lived it, Councillor Digdon and I, in many moons ago, but he's completely right. Folks are looking to leave, and that's not limited to the paramedic profession. That's in other sectors of healthcare. And what we're experiencing and living, unfortunately, in our province today didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. However, we have to start moving in the right direction. Right now, we're swimming against the current, and as a government, I'm really part of a government. I'm really hopeful that that current starts slowing down so we can make it upstream. I feel the pressure on my shoulders every day. I know the Premier feels that pressure, and members of our government feel that pressure, but it's addressing healthcare or looking at EHS as a system. I don't think we'll move in the right direction quickly enough by just looking at through that lens. I made an analogy a few months back or last year, and it was that healthcare is like the chain of a bicycle. And when you have a weak or broken or strained chain link, that chain doesn't move around anymore. And that's what we're experiencing. We have too many people that don't have access to primary care. We have far too many people waiting for long-term care placement, both in community and in hospital. We have emergency rooms that are overcrowded, and I could go on. And just, not to mention the HR challenges that we're experiencing. However, I think when you look at some of the, in our first few months of government, some of the things that, albeit maybe perceived small, are going to pay off in the long run as we work towards longer term solutions. So expanding virtual care to everybody that doesn't have a primary care provider. Understanding there's some limitations to that. Guaranteeing a job to every nurse coming out of school. Yesterday, announcing 500 new long-term care beds. Specifically to paramedics, obviously there's a significant HR problem, not enough paramedics. Can't train a paramedic overnight or in 40 days. But my personal experience, when I first graduated, I think it was July. I wrote my exam in August, and I only started working Valentine's Day the next year. So it was like 6 or 7 months. So the college has created this graduate paramedic license. So we're expected to, hopefully sooner than later, see some new fresh faces on the ambulances. Specific to some of these new resources added, specific for transfers. We have to acknowledge that about half of the call volume within the EHS system is transfers. And there's far too many people that are being transported by paramedics in a, let's say, clinical vehicle in an ambulance that don't necessarily need it to be transported by that method of transportation. So I'm optimistic that, getting people to where they need to be with a more appropriate vehicle is going to be going in the right direction as well. We've, as a government, trying to address the CCA challenges right across the spectrum of healthcare, providing bursaries and tuition and books for graduates or for students rather, working with their post-secondary institutions to get students that need to do practicums in certain settings that they're needed the most right now. So there's lots going on. And it might not be a big news story, but it's concerted efforts that are, again, trying to move in the right direction, slow that current down so that as a province we can start going in the right direction to fix what's going on within EHS, to fix with what's going on within access to primary care, long-term care, and I could go on. So things are happening, not quick as many would probably like, not as quick. I wish I could wake up tomorrow and we didn't have to be dealing with the healthcare crisis that we are, but we have very capable and competent ministers. And I guess I'll wrap up on this one, is that healthcare in our province is, I think pushing 45% of our provincial budget. Past governments had one minister responsible to oversee that management of healthcare, and with an increasing cost over years. However, we now have three dedicated ministers. We have a Minister of Health and Wellness, a Minister of Addictions and Mental Health, understanding and bringing the highest level of accountability to the department and around a cabinet table with the ongoing crisis within mental health and addictions. And then finally, within seniors and long-term care, understanding that there's huge pressures within that sector, and that if we can't get people out of our hospitals, people that are waiting for long-term care out of our hospitals, people aren't going to be moving from the ER up. And paramedics aren't going to be able to offload it into our ER. So it's all integrated. It goes back to that chain that I started off. So I too rambled on a bit, but we're doing some good work, and I'm optimistic that things are going to move in the right direction.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you. Did you mention that, I heard, right, there's going to be 500 new long-term care beds? So is that new homes, or you're going to expand some homes or long-term care homes, or?
Yeah, so the province. Yeah, so the province announced a request for qualified providers yesterday. So those 500 beds are going to be in HRM. So there's an ongoing 27 approved projects that are ongoing throughout the province. I think the closest, there wouldn't be any in our constituency at the time with Nikhil, but there's a rebuild, as many of you are probably aware, within the Villa Acadienne and Mitigan, and then there's work to be done at Roseway Manor. So, I mean, they're not far from here, but they do have direct impacts on our constituents because folks from our constituency end up there, and even though we're 3 hours away from Halifax, it does have a cascading impact on bed availability in our neck of the woods. So.
Okay. If there's no other questions, and Mr. Wong, is that what you had for us? Do you have more? Do you?
No, I guess that's the only last thing I want to bring as part of the discussion, and I brought up to the deputy warden before, is some of regarding the J-class roads. So I had proposed a few roads that I had heard some concerns about, and later understood from the department that they're J-class and they're part of the J-class agreement with the municipality. So I'd certainly be willing to work with the municipality, trying to get mutual priorities aligned. But there's some that that'd be nice to see before the World Vacating Congress in a few years. So
We get a list. Well, we don't get a list. We get a request every year for us to send a list of some of the J-class that we're ready to do some work on a cost share basis, for sure. Yeah. So we'll probably be doing that. I think we do that every fiscal year. Go ahead, Councillor Sonia.
I thank you, Warden. Colton, is there anything being done in terms of healthier living? For instance, many of our programs, active transportation, accessibility, and recreation here focuses basically on that a lot. And I know a lot of the money, or some money, comes from the province, but does the government itself think of preventative ways to help our citizens live better, healthier, keep them out of those hospital beds that you just got?
yeah, no, it's a really good point. And I think if you look at, I think prevention is key, obviously, right? So I'd have to look at, it was part of discussions, that's for certain. And even in my past role as preventive care critic is, if you can prevent somebody from becoming diabetic, or, and then once they are diabetic, if you can help them, manage their diabetes, what's the long-term benefits, not only to that individual, but for a healthier Nova Scotia. But I think, it starts within education, some of these healthier living maybe curriculum, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but, some of the habits that can be developed, access to healthy foods, that's another thing. But it is, there is that branch, that mindset of preventative, but and healthier Nova Scotians. But right at the top of my head, I don't have any concrete details, but I can certainly loop back with you, Councillor Sonia.
Okay. Well, if that is it.
Yeah, that is it for me. I'll wrap up quickly. No, I appreciate the the opportunity to meet with you folks. Willing to meet anytime, even one-on-one. Phone's pretty much on all the time. Got 2 now. Yeah, no, so I'll certainly loop back with council. I'll send an email to a couple action items I took. I'll make sure I share some of the important information. I'll connect with Scott, but certainly always willing to hear the concerns that you guys hear and work with you towards some solutions for our area and for our province. And like I said, pretty much on anytime. So thanks again, and hopefully see you folks soon, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time for sure. A lot of good information on different topics and whatever. So it was certainly a pleasure to have you here to hear some of our concerns for sure.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks again. Right. Okay, we'll continue with our meeting business here. So the next item is we have the minutes of the January 25th Committee of the Whole, and we need a motion to approve unless there's any errors or omissions. So someone wants to move. Okay, moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Bork. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded, carried. There's no business arising from the minutes. Next one is Councillors Reports. Does anybody have anything that they want to? Okay, I see Councillor Donaldson with your hand up. And you're okay.
Very quick and short. Not much going on the last few weeks, but the Buptic Festival Committee, we've got together and we're in the early stages of planning for this year. We didn't know we'd do it with another COVID year, but I guess we're going to go ahead with it. That's
Okay, that sounds
my
good.
report.
Yeah, that sounds good. Councillor Bork.
Thank you. Same meetings usual, Nikhil, Yarmouth Industrial Commission and Recreation Department. The Police Advisory Committee, we had a training session, and this was more or less just to say the responsibilities of the committee and how to conduct our meetings. That's more or less what we were taught in our sessions. So that's all I have to report for today.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Sonia.
Thank you. I attended a waste check meeting and a recreation meeting. Also, I'd like to share, I didn't share it last week because I wanted to double check, but Comoes Hill has had, and Little River has had the high-speed internet installed. It was installed last fall. So that's a good news. And I checked today with Chris Murphy, who owns a fish plant over there, and he said everything is running tip-top. There's no glitches, no nothing. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. So there is some forward movement on that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you. We had a Mariner Center Steering Committee meeting on the 19th of January. We have another one coming up next week. As I mentioned earlier, we're kind of still in limbo. We haven't heard anything. We're waiting on our application. Political conversations keep happening. We're kind of at a standstill though when it came in terms for our fundraising RFP. We've kind of chosen who was the best candidate for that, but our topic for later on the agenda is the question of ownership came up, and where we haven't made a move yet. That's kind of what's pushing our conversation for later on. So I just wanted to mention that. Had an ARC meeting, a recreation meeting. As you can imagine, COVID is really impacting what the Recreation Commission is able to do with our residents. It's hard to plan a whole lot, but especially before Christmas, they were really busy doing a lot for seniors. And I think they're very appreciative of that. Natalie is back with us for recreation, and she gave a really good presentation on who we're serving through recreation. And it's basically to make sure we're keeping on track and making sure that our programming is directed towards the people who need it the most. And we definitely seem to be on the right track for that. Richard, the Glenwood Park, we're still, some things are on limbo for that, but as far as the boat launch is concerned, the floating dock, and it has been purchased. So we're going to see some movement on that this spring, hopefully, just so you know. And we had on February 2nd, there was an Nsfm meeting that was virtual. And I attended it. I wasn't sure who that was for, but I did attend it. And it was basically, they talked about their plan for their organizational change. So some of the things are going to be changing in the Nsfm and how they do things, because they've been kind of doing things for the same way for a long time, and they just kind of want to update things. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, that meeting was open to all elected officials, and I that's why I sent the letter. I sent the email, make sure, because I didn't know if everybody had received it or not. So it was open to all elected officials, only elected officials. Councillor Surratt.
Yes, just a small update. I also attended the Waste Check meeting, Mariner Center meeting. Also attended the Nsfm meeting that we had, like Nicole spoke about the change in the organization. It was kind of interesting, really, to see where they're going. It's big changes, and wow. Anyhow, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But they seem to be moving forward with it, and I think it's going to be a good change. And the other thing is the Industrial Commission. We had that meeting, and I'm a little concerned about the clinics, what's going on. We don't have contact with our manager. There's a little bit of a conflict there with the clinics, with the manager anyhow. So I'm kind of out of the loop who's talking to them, but anyhow, I'm hoping to have that straightened up by our next meeting, because there seems to be questionings coming from the managers of those clinics, or the managers, and having trouble to find out who's supposed to answer, because there's many things that I'm not aware of. So anyhow, I hope to have that clarified by our next meeting, and to address some of the concerns that they have in the clinics. That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Boudreau.
I also attended a few meetings, and I also engaged with the residents of the flood zones, trying to get their feedback on how we can fix the issues. And that's about it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Someone else. Councillor D'Entremont.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Just an update on YASTA. I guess the CAT schedule is out, and they're going to be starting on May 19th. So that's good news for tourism in our area. In June, I think I already mentioned it, but in June, we're having TMAC, which is the travel writers, will be coming in our area. So that'll be exciting. And I know we are partnering with a lot of the local establishments and experiences, the CAT, the Fundy Rose. So that's great news for tourism. Dennis Point Road, I guess I've been going by the speed sign. I'm sure that Councillor Digdon's been going through the speed sign, so we always kind of look at how fast we're going through there. But I asked Sean D'Entremont, who's one of the owners of Inshore Fisheries, if he had noticed that if the traffic had slowed down a bit, because that was a concern. And it has slowed down a little bit. They're not sure if the sign is at the right place, because you're almost gone by inshore before you see it, right? So I think they're going to have a meeting. They have a safety committee, and they're going to talk it over and try to figure out what the best place to have it is. But at least I know I've noticed it. If you go over speed, there's a little flashing light there that kind of tells you to slow down. So also, Sean D'Entremont from Inshore wrote a letter to the municipality, and that was, I think, handled by our Deputy CEO, Scott Surratt, about high speed or the fiber op. They do a lot of their business now online, using the internet. The internet in Dennis Point Road is not very good. And they were just wondering if there's any way that they could, have priority to get hooked up because they are a major business area, and they do realize that everybody wants fiber, everybody wants faster internet. You know, we're not all, everybody's in the same boat there, but just trying to figure out if they would have you know, priority. And again, Scott Surratt is on that case, and I thank you, Scott, for like Sean said, you were very quick to respond to him, so I appreciate that also. So that's my update for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I guess, oh, okay, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. Just, I've been attending a few meetings. I honestly, I find it hard right now. There's no saying I don't, as being a counselor. I don't find as though we have the interactions anymore with people that we had before COVID came around, because I was always one that I loved being out at functions. I love talking with people. That part I find hard. I honestly do. There's no saying I don't. But I guess it is where we are, and hopefully in a couple of months' time, it'll all be behind us. We're also putting the team in, and Mr. Warden is part of that team, and Councillor Bork, and hoping to get a few others on board for this, what's called the coldest night of the year in February. It's a fundraiser for shift hosts. So we'll be out on behalf of the municipality there walking, and we'll be raising some funds before that, looking for some pledges. So I think it's a great thing that we're putting a team in. If anybody wants to be part of that team, please give me a call and we'll make sure that we get you on our team. So that's about it for this time around. Thank you.
So a question on that one, Councillor Digdon. So the fundraising, do we do that ourselves as well, each individual?
We can. We're going to have pledge sheets, and we'll be able to take pledges. And that's one thing I didn't touch base with the team yet. There's a 2 kilometer or 5 kilometer. I'm not sure if we want to go to 2 kilometers or 5 kilometers. But anyway, I'll be touching base later on this week, and or over the weekend. We'll go from there.
Good now. Thank you. I'm sure you we'll hear from you when things are ready so that we can get going for sure. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think that's every councillor. So the next item is the Warden's Report. It's attached. I don't know if anybody has any questions. What's not on there is I also attended the Nsfm restructuring meeting, and I think they're going in the right direction. I was a little concerned about one thing, that right now we're all individual members as councillors, and it's going to change whereby it's going to be council, not just individual. Councils are going to be classed as members. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect the voting process when we go to Nsfm. I'm really not sure how that's going to work, but I'm sure they're looking at it, and they didn't seem to be too concerned that we still wouldn't be getting a vote as an individual. So I'm really not sure, and we'll have to wait and see how things turn out. So if there's no questions on mine, we'll go to the staff report. Just going to take that. Kyle, yeah.
So I'm sure you guys all got a chance to read it. I'll give you a good full notes version right now, and then if there's any questions of anything you've read, you can ask at that point. So the Municipal Innovation Program was something starting for regional planning services, and there were some grants around that to hire some consultants around that. I was taking care of this when he was here. Chris Broughton has stepped up from Barrington, and he's taken the lead on this. And from what I understand, the grant has been approved to hire the consultant. So there's going to be an RFP going out shortly for that, and that's regional based, and we're all part of that in this region. So that's a good thing that's still going forward. As far as financing department, there's going to be a tax sale that's been moved to March. It's usually in February. That has been moved to March 22nd of 2022 at 10 a.m. at the West Pubnico Legion. There's pre-registration that is required to attend and can be done by calling our office. So we do have a limit of 50 names to take for that tax sale this year because of current restrictions. So that was also the reason it was moved. PVSC has sent out the 2022 tax assessments. I'm sure we've all heard about that. The deadline to appeal is actually in 2 days. It's February 10th. So if any residents want to appeal, they have to appeal that through PVSC. And that isn't done through us. That's done through them. As far as recreation, so there's been questions about the active transportation plan and where we're at with that. There was meetings with WSP on February 2nd. This meeting is intended for WSP to provide introduction to team members and a summary of the AT plan review, and a workshop to hear feedback from key stakeholders within MODA regarding the previously completed AT plan. This will assist WSP in preparation of the public engagement part, and we'll also discuss the scheduling for a larger public engagement moving forward. Also, another big topic here has been the accessibility plan. Natalie met with Earl Muse, the chair of the accessibility committee. They're waiting for feedback from council. I'm told that there was a draft document submitted on June 8th at the meeting 2021 and was asked for feedback from council, and they haven't received any at this point. So at some point we'll have to review that document and see if there's any feedback from you guys. And as far as, so in the public works side of things, everybody's going status quo right now. We do have a new hire, a wastewater operator for the Tusket plant, and he's also a licensed electrician. So that should lead to considerable savings within the organization. And building inspector, so far there's been 23 permits issued this year. So right back on track to stay busy as ever in the development side of things. There's been 11 development applications as well since the start of the development permits since the start of the year. So shaping up to be another busy year in the region. Other than that, everything else is pretty status quo. And if there's any questions about any part of that report, feel free to ask.
Anybody have any questions? Councillor Sonia.
Just for clarification, what is Municipal Innovation Program?
So it's 7 municipalities regionally. I don't have the list of exactly who the municipalities are right now, but it's in the Tri-County region, and they're all trying to form a regional strategic plan and hire consultants to take that on. So this came out, from my understanding, from grants that were available for services such as this. So Ally was heading that up with Chris's help. So Chris stepped up to take charge on that in Ally's absence. So I'll be honest, my involvement directly with it has not been massive, but it's in Chris's capable hands and everything seems to be moving forward well.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing no more questions. Thank you very much, Kyle, for the report. And we'll move on to for decision. Mariner Center ownership. There's the document, and this is the same document that we've all seen before. Are there any, is there any discussion, any questions, anything that anybody wants to talk about on this issue? Okay, I've got Councillor Digdon, I think, had his hand up first, and then we'll go to Deputy Warden Albright after. Go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Sorry, just meant to ask Kyle, I believe it was, again, the report. I permits with 12 permits pending as well. Staff issued 12 building permits. I thought the council was going to start going with how we used to go see that the building permits and that would be showing up on the report as to what areas they were in and what the permits were for and that. I thought that's what we had, this was agreed upon a while ago.
That was something that hasn't been relayed to me. I can definitely have that done with the next report. That's just something that I was not aware of, and I would say Renee probably wasn't either. So that's easy to rectify.
We did receive one since then, Did you see one, Councillor Digdon? I know we had one at some point here because I went through it for sure, but I don't know. There's none here today, but yeah.
I was gonna say that that was a little while ago, Mr. Warden. Yeah,
Yeah,
a couple of months ago or so, maybe.
yeah. I thought, well,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
could
but
be
there's
right.
none
Yeah,
like here now.
no.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess moving back to the Mariner Center, is that what Councillor Albright or Deputy Warden Albright you wanted to talk about? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Again, I want to thank Scott and Kyle and Alain for contributing to all of the data and information that they gave us when it came to this decision, because that's kind of why we've held off a bit. We didn't have all of the information we felt that we needed to make this decision. So I guess I'm not going to repeat all that's in there, but for the public that's watching, we're at a point right now where we have to make a decision as to whether or not we want to be owners of if the expansion goes through, or not if, but when the expansion goes through, do we want to be owners or do we want to be contributors of that building? So, and I guess the reason for the urgency right now making the decision is we're at a point where at our Mariner Center Steering Committee where we're kind of stuck because the other two units have made the commitment and we're the only ones that haven't. So they're kind of feeling uncomfortable about moving forward and making any more financial decisions without knowing where we stand. So that's kind of why we're feeling like we had to make the decision. And without our CAO, who was on sick leave, we just felt we didn't have all that information. So we were presented with an incredible amount of information that really made things in my mind clear. We did something with this project that was not typical of our units in the fact that we made a commitment, a financial commitment. All three of us joined together in order to fund that capital piece. And that may sound like, yeah, of course you did. Well, those types of decisions don't always come easily. And we showed innovation in doing that. And when we put in our application, the fact that all three municipalities joined together to make that commitment was a big positive selling point. We felt like it was actually a huge plus. So we made that commitment to fund the capital. We've been invested in this project from the very beginning. It's the biggest, and I've said it before, this is the biggest recreational infrastructure project for our municipality, and not one of us we've always felt like this is definitely a regional project. This one for 100%, we're all on board, this is regional. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I am in favor of being owners of this project, and for a variety of reasons listed in the information that was handed to us, but for borrowing money purposes and showing our government that we are going to be partners in all of this. And I think if we're really going to be partners, as we've said we will be, this is just another way to show our commitment to that. So I will definitely be voting in favor of being owners and not just contributors to this project. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Sonia.
So just for the public, the financial responsibility or commitment that we have on this project is the same whether we own or not, correct? So it doesn't, yes, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Surratt.
Yes, I guess to keep on with what Ted and Nicole said, I like the public to know that the Mariner Center, there's a $30 million commitment from the three units. May as well put numbers out there so people know. No one used to hide, and I know nobody's trying to hide anything. So it's a $30 million project. The units, and I'll talk the municipality of Argyle, we would be looking at $3 million from our part to finance. I believe I'm right. Anybody can jibe in after to tell if I'm wrong on that, because the project, our share for the 3 units is supposed to be 10 million, less some fundraising. So Argyle would be looking at roughly $3 million to put out there. Also, to be sure that the public knows, that's part one of the issue. Part two will be to fund any deficits that the Mariner Center comes out with at the end of the year. And this could be a deficit of between $850,000 to $1 million a year. This is what's on our report that you can all see online on the agenda. So it's a $30 million project again. Our share will be for 3 units, 10 million, 3 million Municipality of Argyle. And the deficit that will be run by the Mariner Center, anywhere from $850,000 to $1 million. So it's a lot of money, but it's a big project, and I'm certainly going to vote in favor. It's something we need. It's something that the municipalities need. I've talked to a lot of people, and people are in favor of having that swimming pool and everything in there. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Digdon.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Well, I guess it's no secret. I would have liked to have brought this out more publicly to the people and explained to them exactly the cost and the cost of running an operation like this. How much their taxes are possibly going to go up, because it's definitely, we've been told by our CAO that a project this size, that it will definitely put taxes up. Do I think it's good for this area? Yes, I do. Will I be voting in favor of it? By all means, I will. But at the same time, I'm just not sure. Actually, I was going to make the motion, but I'm not sure where the motions went now. But the motion that I believe we're making this evening, that's based on a $30 million project. Am I correct on saying that?
Yes. Yes.
So if it goes over 30 or...
No, but the motion we're making here tonight is whether or not we want to be owners or not. Has nothing to do with the 30 million.
That's right. Okay, so be owners no matter what the price is going to be?
No, well, we're
going to be voting on?
We're voting to be owners of the Mariner Center. If the project is over 30 million, chances are the project may or may not go. We're not voting here to spend $30 million. We're voting here to be owners of the Mariner Center, and the agreement would be to own its proportion of the Mariner Center operations, considering the agreement to expand into a multi-purpose recreation facility for the county. So in other words, what it is, we're going to be voting on here whether or not we want to be owners of the Mariner Center. Okay. The next item, the next comment you made will come whether or not it'll all depend whether we get the funding from the government. It'll depend on how much more once we go tender, it'll be what we can afford to build or whatever, right? That is for the next once we go on with the application, and if we're approved, then we'll have to see what is this going to cost. Right now, we're saying we've got 30 million. We're okay with spending up to $30 million. Okay.
And that's what I was asking, based on a $30 million project right now.
It is based on that.
Yes.
Whether
yes.
it goes ahead
okay.
or not. Okay.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But not what we're voting on tonight. We're voting
No,
here.
no. And I realize
you understood that. Okay. Good.
I realize that, and I realize what Councillor Surratt was breaking down too, because that's what we've been hearing all along. But I'm just, I know how points can get sticky sometimes, and we're not voting on a ownership of a $40 million project or a $50 million project
at this point.
That's right. That's right.
No, exactly.
Thank you.
That'll be another decision to make at the time. Councillor Boudreau.
I think we should add also to Guy's comments that it's a 25-year deal, loan, right?
Well,
It's $3 million, isn't it, for 25 years?
well, it could be. I guess it's something that we'll have to
Yeah.
decide when it comes, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think we should add that as well.
Yeah.
That's all. Thanks.
Any other counselor before Kyle goes? Counselor Donaldson.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote in favor of being an owner, and I've probably been the last holdout because I've been around since the original Mariner Center, and at the time back, I'm taking a guess, 2001, 2002.
2001.
Argyle was.
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah.
Argyle went into the Mariner Center as a major contributor, meaning that we spent our share based on assessment and what our share was. And we stayed that way for a number of years. And then after a while, the Mariner Center started running small deficits, and then they started becoming a little bigger. But Argyle always was there to pay our share of the operating deficits. And in my mind, I felt that that was the way to continue on. But with all the information we've received over the last month, mainly, and all the pros and cons, I've totally flipped, and I believe that we should be part owners. We have more say when it comes to board meetings, and where the Mariner Center moves forward, at least we'll have a say. And so this motion to clear it up to the public is nothing more than putting our name on the deed, and any decisions made going forward, whether it's an expansion, whether it's work that needs to be done on the existing facility, we'll be there at the table to help make these decisions. The big project coming, if it comes, like Nicole says, it will come, but the financials will come out, and I'm sure there's going to be tweaks in the number. Everybody knows what construction's doing right now, and we'll have to sit down at the table again to see how far forward we're going to go with this project. But right now, it's putting our name on the deed, nothing more. That's the way I'm looking at it, and I think I'm right in saying that.
Okay. Okay. I see, Kyle, unless you've got something, Kyle, that you want to answer to the questions that have just come up before we go further, is that okay with council to let him speak here? Okay, go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you. I just want to go back to Glenn's comment. He had talked about the CAO's recommendations and how there was talks of tax implications. I just want to clarify that in the document, there's actually, it's stated that currently there's little to no consideration for a tax hike for operations. And that's backed up by the fact that in this year's operating budget, we've allotted $280,000 now for operating between the Mariner Center and the aquatic operating grant. So, going back to that, you're looking at if it was an $800,000 loss, we'd actually be ahead of where we've budgeted in this current fiscal year. So, you're not looking at a huge tax implications in the future on this. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, thank you. When we're talking about the tax, I think we're more talking about the $3 million that we're looking at the capital cost of the project and not the actual operations of it, for sure. Okay, we'll go back. Okay, I had Councillor Sonia and Councillor Bork. Go ahead, Councillor Sonia.
Again, just to clarify for the public, so we talk about splitting the cost of $10 million with 3 municipalities on a $30 million project. And it wasn't mentioned that the other 20 million is coming from, or hopefully coming from, the provincial and federal governments, along with possible fundraising, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
You're
So
right.
just to let them know.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Councillor Bork.
I guess Councillor Sonia beat me to that question.
Okay.
I might as well, I'm in agreement to be an owner for the Mariner Center. I'm like Richard as well. I was iffy about it. I wasn't sure, but reading through these documents, it made up my mind that I think we might as well be owners. We'll be paying the same amounts anyway, so we might as well be the owners and have a good say in it. Thank you.
Okay, so really the motion should be that we enter into an agreement to own a portion of the Mariner Center operations, considering the agreement to expand into a multi-purpose recreational facility for the county. So that we still have to enter into an agreement with the other two, like, which could mean what our share is, what our, it's not just that we're automatically an owner, but we will enter into an agreement with the other two units. So,
I'll make that motion.
okay. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Bork. So I'll read the entire motion, how it's written, okay? So move that Argyle express its intent to enter an agreement to own its portion of the Mariner Center operations, considering the agreement to expand into a multi-purpose recreation facility for the county. So you're all good with the, go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Just wondering, and I'm going between my iPad and I don't have all the agenda up here tonight because I'm having trouble with the computer. Does there say a percentage? Is there a percentage in that?
No, we're going to enter into an agreement. So that'll come with the agreement, whatever agreement we come up with, okay? Right now we have I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hadn't we already came up with an agreement and a figure though?
We have one with the project that we're with now, right? I do believe.
Capital.
Yeah, we do. And that would probably be what we would be going for as well with the ownership, okay? We don't think that it should be a third, because that's not how all of our other agreements are. So it's something that we will have to discuss and negotiate with the other two. Councillor Surratt.
Mr. Warden, maybe you've answered my question. Not sure, but I'm not totally sure. Before this council votes on being an owner, shouldn't we know what our percentage is?
No,
It's
well,
like giving a blank check.
We're entering into an agreement. So if we don't agree with what we want, we don't have to sign an agreement. That'll be
So what's the
discussed.
percentage? So what's the percentage that we're
Right now, I
agreeing on?
think it's 30.5% for us. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
That was my
okay?
question.
Kyle.
We really should have those discussions in Canada. If we get to that point.
Yes, that'll be part of the discussion. This is just our intent to be owners with an agreement. But the agreement's going to have to be brought to the other two. We'll have to sit together. Go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. But just getting back to that, when we came up with those numbers of percentages, that was going to be from the time we'd entered into an agreement. And that would also fall onto our share that we were going to pay at the Mariner Center now from now on. And that'd be, even if the expansion didn't take place, that was the agreement we were getting into. But there was a percentage, there was a number associated with that.
Yes,
at that meeting.
There was a number associated with that, but that was before we're owners. But we're hoping that, but our intention is to keep the same thing. We're not owners right now. When we have an agreement, we have an agreement with what we're doing right now. So yes, I would say that we're going to go with that same percentage in the agreement. That's what that will be our recommendation in the agreement, right?
But if our recommendation is not accepted, then what happens?
Yes.
You know,
And we
you,
don't
Very
sign-
good.
Then we don't sign the agreement.
oh,
we're not
okay, but
owners.
I was hoping tonight with this motion that we would have a percentage and that from tonight on, we would move forward as part owners.
But if we
And,
set a
and at the
percent,
same,
but if we set a percentage now and the other two don't agree, we still don't have an agreement. Everybody
Right.
has to agree.
Negotiate. You have to
We have to
negotiate
negotiate
that.
that.
we've been down that negotiation road already though, and everybody's
but we're not
agreed with their
owners.
portion.
That wasn't, we didn't negotiate that with being owners. We negotiated that with what we were spending now. This is a totally different agreement. But yes, we can't say we're going at 30 or whatever. Because we could go there and they could say, no, we want you to be at 32. Well, that's going to be a negotiation that if we don't agree, we don't have to sign. If we don't, before we sign that agreement, we're not owners. But we are going to go with we will be going with the percentage that's there. Yes, that's our intention. Okay. Okay, I had Councillor Saulnier, then Councillor Shag.
So, thank you. So assuming we become owners, that gives us a seat at the table in negotiation, so to speak, correct?
Negotiations
owner.
for what? For being owners?
As an owner, we would be able to negotiate with the other two party, correct? As an owner, would be able to sit at the table and negotiate. While if you're not an owner, you cannot, can you?
Well, we have a member on the board right now. We already have a member, and I'm not sure what you mean by negotiating. Negotiating our percentage, is that what you're talking about?
No.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
saying
that has nothing to do. Until we negotiate that percentage and we sign that agreement, we are not owners. And what the motion says is we're entering into an agreement, right? So we're entering into an agreement, but we have to negotiate what it's going to be before we sign the agreement. And if we don't sign the agreement, we're not owners. I'm not sure if I'm clear or not. Maybe I'm not making any sense, but go ahead, Kyle.
I can clarify that by saying there's going to be more to this negotiation than just a percentage figure. There's going to be exactly what Ted's saying. This isn't just going to be a contract that says Argyle owns 30.5% of the Yarmouth Mariner Center. There's going to be something that then is how the board is derived, how all that stuff happens after we move forward as an owner. All of that's likely going to change, be part of the negotiation that when that's all hashed out, is going to come back to council for an agreement, likely in camera at that point, to discuss all of the intricacies of the contract. All this motion is doing is to give us intent to go to the table to try to work out something that works for all parties involved, to take an ownership stance. And then all those intricacies will be brought up in that contract. It's going to be more than, it's going to be quite a deep contract from what I understand.
We're just saying tonight we're interested in being owners. We don't have a contract. We don't have an agreement, but we're saying we're interested in being owners. Now we have to negotiate what is that going to mean. Okay, I had Councillor Donaldson with his hand up.
Yeah, well, Kyle pretty well covered it. The way I'm looking at this is an agreement to become an owner. Forget expansion. I believe that's not even on the table. We're going to be owners. We'll be part of setting the yearly budget, whether there needs to be staff cuts, staff increases, new seats put in. We'll be at that table hopefully controlling the spending. And traditionally in other projects we've done, it's 30.5 based on assessment and a population. This, we may be able to negotiate a lower percentage because we're not going to get the spin-offs and the kickoffs and the motels, the restaurants that the other two units are going to get. So we may be able to even negotiate a lower percentage. I don't see us agreeing to a higher percentage, but the 30.5% is traditionally where it stands based on past assessment, that may change a little bit one way or another, but I can't see us going over the formula we've always used. So
No.
to me, if we're gonna spend taxpayers' money, we may as well be at the table deciding where it goes.
Exactly. It makes sense. Who, Councillor Surratt, you had your hand.
Just, I guess, to further to Richard, Kyle, you've basically answered what I had. Because my concern was, of course, if we're going to go sit down there, and like Danny, you've been kept on saying, this is just to say that we are going in to get an agreement. Well, you know what? What about if they come with, if they start going with 33 and 35? Hey, I'm not agreeing to that, but Kyle has certainly straightened that up for me. And you're going in there to negotiate, come
Exactly.
back to council, and now I understand. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're just indicating here that yes, we're interested in becoming owners, and we're going to negotiate what that means with the other two. Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. I honestly thought when we sat down as three councils that we'd negotiated all this. And I honestly thought that that we had figured out a percentage going forward. I feel as though right now tonight with this motion, we're no further ahead than we were a month ago, because we're still not going to be owners after tonight. We're still going to be negotiating our percentage wise to see if we want to become owners or not. And it's not pushing this project ahead as far as showing stability to the provincial government or the federal government for getting money out of them, as far as I'm concerned. I was hoping that tonight after this meeting, we would have a unanimous decision that we would become owners. We'd have a percentage of what we were going to be paying on behalf of the taxpayers of the municipality of Argyle. But I guess that's not what it's going to be. But anyway, I'll still be voting. We have to keep going now. We're too far to turn back on this one.
Okay, Deputy Warden.
Thank you. So what the other two units were looking for was a commitment from our council as to whether or not we wanted to be owners or contributors, because they were uncertain. And what worried them is if we said we were going to be contributors, there's no guarantee how long that was going to be for. So as we know, this is going to be a long-term project. And if we said, yep, contributors, we could basically back out whenever we wanted. Would we have done that? Probably not. But the decision to become owners solidifies for them that we are three units working together to move this project forward. I can't see any way we could have come up with a percentage tonight, because that's unilateral. That's us making a decision without our partners. And that isn't partnership. That is something we have to discuss with the other two units as to how much we're going to put into this when we do get together. But now that we have made the commitment to negotiate that, that's one of our next steps. So I never ever thought we were going to come out of this saying we're owners for this much money tonight. No, what we're doing is we're committing for ownership. We're saying we want to be owners, and now we're going to go into negotiations to decide what that looks like. That was my understanding.
That's the only thing we can do. We're one out of three. We can't say we're owners with 30%. If we could do that, let's say we're owners with 25. We can't do that. This is just saying we're interested in being owners. That's what they want to know.
Right. They needed a commitment.
The other two want a commitment that we're going to be owners on this. Go ahead, Kyle.
That's really all. We should not be discussing percentages on here right now.
No, exactly. Not at all.
If we go to that.
What we're saying here tonight is we are interested, and we're going to go into negotiations with the other two units. So that's the motion that we've just made.
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded. So we have 8 for and 1 against.
Who is the one against?
I said.
Who's the one against?
I think
I
it was a
asked-
camera delay.
Maybe the
think
camera
it
went
was a
out,
camera
sorry,
delay.
because one hand went up when I said, anybody against, and your hand went up. One hand went up. Okay, we're all for then.
I think it was unanimous. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
unanimous.
It's
It
just
didn't
Glenn-
look like that when on the screen, I'm sorry.
No, Glenn had a camera delay there. He was halfway in between.
No, I was up, Mr.
Okay,
Donaldson,
unanimous,
or
sorry.
Richardson, whatever you want to be
These
called.
these Zoom meetings, if the cameras are slow, it can put someone in hot water. I heard you say you were going to vote for, but then when I asked for against, the hand went up.
No, I'm behind it. It's unanimous, sir.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so the next one is the We Care Radiothon sponsorship. And what that is the Hospital Foundation. They're holding its annual We Care Radiothon on March the 3rd. And they're asking, I've included sponsorship. They're asking for the municipality to be sponsors. Now, I don't know that in the past we've ever actually sponsored this. I'll tell you what we've always sponsored. It's when they had their gala. We always bought a full table for the gala. Well, they haven't had the gala in a couple of years, okay? So I don't know, the gala table was how much? 150? I can't remember what we gave, but
$1,200.
how much?
I think it was 1,200.
1,200, right, exactly, because I think it was $150 per seat, per member. Okay, so what they're asking is saying, we would love to have you on board with us to make a better, all money's raised. It says, I saw here that they're asking, I've included a sponsorship package. Please let me know if you can partner up with the fundraiser, as we have a $3 million or $300,000 commitment for high priority cardiac equipment, echo unit, different units that is required for the, we'll be able to have anyone come to our door. Yeah, they're asking us to see if we want to be partners, and they show here what sponsorships are. The We Care, our sponsor, is a $600 commitment, and that's for the We Care one. We have one, it says We Care event sponsor for 1,000. We Care Power Hour sponsor is what that was. And then we have just the We Care supporter. So I don't know if we want to make a commitment to that. It's entirely up to the council. Councillor Surratt.
I feel that the Yarmouth Hospital is used by all the residents of our municipality. And I think that, without that, where would we be? They need equipment for the cardiac. They do a lot of fundraising, they raise a lot of money. And I'd be on board to support a motion to give a sponsorship to this worthy cause. And I'd be looking at bronze sponsor or the We Care event sponsor. We use, like Councillor Dawson said, we used to give $1,200
Every
for
year.
for a table. So
Yes.
why can't we go We Care event sponsors for $1,000? And I made that a motion.
That we go with the We Care
Yes,
the event sponsor
yes.
of the 1,000. Councillor Bork, is that a seconder? No, that's second. So it's been moved and seconded. Councillor D'Entremont.
I just wanted to add that I'm in total support of this. I think in the past, what we've done also is individual councillors that we have donated, I guess, to have like challenges and, So I think every year, a lot of the councillors from Argyle have donated
That's
$100
right.
each or whatever they decide to. And to Guy's point about it's our local hospital, and you don't realize until you get a ticket in there exactly what's going on. But once you go in there for a few days and
That's
have
right.
all kinds of tests and stuff, you realize what the hospital is all about. And, everything costs money, so I'm fully supportive, always fully supportive of our local hospital. Thank you.
That's right. So there's a motion on the floor to, okay, go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you, and I'm 110% in support of the motion, and that I'm just making sure we're not breaking any guidelines, are we, with this request? The only reason I'm asking that is last meeting with Shift Host, they hadn't approached us the right way, and I'm just not sure if we're breaking any guidelines or not. That's all, because we don't want to get into that as well.
No, I don't think we are, because we've supported this every year through the gala, which is basically the same thing. It's not the same thing because they don't have the gala, but if they were having the gala, we would be supporting, and it's the same organization, right? Kyle.
And we do have a budget line for that with room under grants and special events. So that is there for that. So there is room to
That was
support
there
that.
for that. Yeah. Any more questions? If not, I'll ask for the question. All in favor, okay, question's been called. All in favor, signify by raising your hand. I'll wait a second, make sure. Against. Motion carried. The next one is Island and District Fire Department fire truck, and there's an attachment there. And what they've requested, there's a fire truck that the Island and the District wanted to buy, and that was brought to a council meeting a while back. And I think the document that we have here, is that a document that everybody has seen of what we've gone, what we've done? So any discussion on this? Anybody have anything to say on this? And probably Councillor Surratt, do you want to talk on that? That's your department and your area.
Yes, Mr. Warden. Yes, the as is explained in the attachment we got under this item, explains very well that the request by the municipality to get the truck checked out was done. It came out, A1 condition, and it, no problem with the truck. Well worth what it's what is said to be asked. Islands and District had been fundraising for a long time to put money aside. They finally have $40,000 aside for this truck. It took us 6-7 years to get that, and there'll be no money being asked as an area rate to our residents if the municipality could support in the other 40,000, because the truck will cost 80,000 plus GST or HST, whatever.
Yeah.
So certainly well needed. We'll be retiring 2 trucks once we get if we are able to get this truck. We'll be retiring 2 trucks. It'll be less insurance that we need to pay out, less fuel. So all the firemen voted at a meeting, because this item didn't need to go to a ratepayers because their money was already in our account, and therefore all the firemen did vote for the truck, and it's we're all set with it, and then we're hoping to get a favorable response from the municipality. I'd like to thank Kyle on this and Scott, both, especially Kyle on this, to have done the research, done the work, a lot of work. And probably when this first came up, I kind of jumped too quick, and I'd apologize, Nicole, to you on that. I'm sorry about jumping too quick. but I guess it's a process, and sometimes I'm just a little too quick to jump. But anyhow, having said that, we've done the process. Now everything's in front of us, and it's a council decision, and I guess I leave it up for discussion to council. I'm ready to make a motion, but I'll wait to see what other councillors have to say.
I'm going to read, there's a recommendation here that we have, okay? And and maybe that went to all councillors, and I don't know if everybody saw the recommendation. And the recommendation is that there was 2 or 3 options that we could have done. We could have denied it, we could have, and some of them went against our policy as well, right? So the option 1 was that was recommended was this. Recommend option 1. We agree to support Island District in their intentions to add a quality vehicle to their fleet by issuing an interest-free loan of 40,000 with forgiveness occurring the first year of expiry in the Nsfm contribution. Because see, we have Nsfm that has a 5-year forgivable loan, and they're in year 3, right? And until we get those settled, then it makes it a little different for what we do with the others. It's the same as the one in Quinnen. They're on year 3 of a 6-year loan, right? So what it reads is the vehicle forgiveness. Where was I? And it would be with the expiry of the Nsfm contribution. This will be a forgivable loan in 3 equal parts of 13,333. So it's a forgivable loan. Should the vehicle be sold within the time frame, of course, and the proceeds shall be earmarked to pay our loan first as a 50% contributor towards the project. Okay, so that would be just something if you were to sell the truck. So anyway, any other comments? We have a suggested motion as well here. Go ahead, Scott Surratt.
Thank you, Warden. I just want to clarify, when we talk about the policy is not enforced, right? It's never been passed by council, so it's just in draft. So the information you guys received refers to the policy, but the policy is just in draft. I just want to make a clarification on that.
Exactly.
And just to add to what Councillor Surratt added is, it is true that they're looking to replace 2 vehicles. One of them they're actually planning to sell if they can. I was speaking to the deputy chief there, and he shared that with me. And the other one, they're hoping to give that to the Eelbrook Fire Department for the use of towing the Zodiac. I believe that was the reason. So that one of the vehicles will still stay in our municipality. The other piece that he did share with me that I just didn't share with you, maybe in the documents that was circulated, was that it definitely will be an upgrade to their equipment. This vehicle is automatic, so it's not everybody that enjoys driving standard or can drive standard. So this could also help in the recruitment of volunteers being able to drive the vehicles. So it can work as a recruitment tool. It's, as already stated, we did an inspection, and it's in really good shape. The pumps are really good. There's more room in this fire truck. So the two vehicles that we're eliminating, we can take all those equipment and put it on this new truck for them, so they all fit there. And the other piece that he shared with me was that it's been inspected for a year, so it's good for a year. So it's just a little added stuff that I didn't provide to you earlier in the document that I did receive from the deputy fire chief that I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. So that clarified. Okay, I see Councillor Digdon and then Councillor Surratt. Go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. Only thing I would add to that is, I've said it before here, volunteer firefighters, they are the backbone of our community, whether it's for medical first responders calls, car accidents, forest fires, host fires, whatever the case may be. If you need a bunch of people, usually quick, it's your volunteer fire departments you go after. And whatever Councillor Surratt feels as though is fair for a motion, I will definitely be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor Surratt.
I'd like to move that council approve a 40,000 contribution in the way of a loan to the Arlington District Volunteer Fire Department to ensure their purchase of a new fire truck. The loan shall be without interest and forgivable over 3 years, beginning in fiscal year 2024-25 and ending in fiscal year 2026-2027.
That's right. Okay, that is seconder, Councillor Donaldson. Okay, it's been seconded. So any further discussion or questions? Hearing none or seeing none, I'll ask for the question. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Contrary minded. Unanimous. Because it happened again, Councillor Digdon. As soon as I ask for the opposition, your hand goes up. Oops, I got to go back to my menu here, to my agenda. Okay, so that's what we have for decisions. Correspondence, we have the minutes of the Recreation Commission. We have a letter sent to MLA Colton regarding the Bilingual Sign Projects, which he discussed, and that's going to be a go. And go ahead, Scott, you have something you want to add there?
Yeah, thank you, Warden. I just wanted to add that, yeah, it was already discussed with Minister LeBlanc, but I just wanted to get you up to date that the actual application from CUPEB has been submitted to Caden Affairs. That's just a letter. The letter attached to the agenda is what was sent with the application. So that was sent this week. I just wanted to give you an update, and I appreciate you guys responding to my emails for information. So thank you.
Okay. And the next one, it's Shag Harbour Incident Society, UFO Expo. There's no attachment, so I'm not sure what the letter is. It's a thank you or whatever. Go ahead, Scott.
Again, just wanted to share with council that I did reach out to him after the presentation to let him know that he should be doing a grant to organization application. So I did respond to him via email. He did respond back, and he's actually submitted an application. So that will come back to council to review. So I just want to kind of give you an update on that.
That's good. Thank you. Now, I had another letter that I was hoping was going to be here, and somehow when Chantal was ill, and I put it on her desk, not realizing that she wasn't going to see it. And it didn't get on there, but it's a letter of for the Order of Nova Scotia, and what it's the letter says that if we have anybody, and it's just not just the municipality, but if any individual has someone that they would like to nominate for the Order of Nova Scotia. And there are guidelines, and there are stipulations on what you need to have done in order to qualify to be for the award. You can go online for the Order of Nova Scotia, and it will tell you what the criteria is, what they expect a person have, what they expect to have that person done in order to qualify for the order. So I don't have the letter here. What I can do is I can go to the office and at least copy it and email it to everybody if you want to see it as well. And because the guidelines are there as well. So I can do that this week. Hopefully, I didn't go in today or yesterday. I knew they were working there, but I will do that and make sure. Or maybe if Kyle or Scott could do that, just to make sure that you copy it, and especially the guidelines and the letter, what it says, and make sure that council gets that.
I can do that, Warden. News.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Financial request, I see none. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. You just touched on something that I was gonna see if you or somebody would want to bring. I'm getting quite a few questions from the public as to what's going on. What is the problem at the municipal office as far as why it's closed? If it's got to do with green energy or, stuff like that. So maybe if somebody would just give a little blurb as to what's happening up there and why it's closed right now, that would be great, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because I'm getting questions as well. And all I can tell them is there's something wrong with the heat because I have no idea what it is. Go ahead, Kyle.
It's actually, so our heating system is run through a series of ductwork that is heated primarily by a commercial sized heat pump. So the compressor that is in the heat pump actually pierced a hole in it. We lost our refrigerant. We went to no pressure in the system. We got cold. There's electric coils to help substitute the heat, but they're not a primary heat source. So I had a lot of conversations when this first happened with engineers. How much heat are we going to have? Are we going to be able to stay functioning? What are we going to look like moving forward? Because we knew with the supply chain that this wasn't going to be something that we were going to have parts for immediately. So Mitsubishi did ship us out the parts fairly quickly. Actually, we had them within, I believe, a week and a half. Then came the installers, contractors had COVID run through their staff. So that delayed us another week. Here we are today. The system is right now, overnight tonight, charged full of pressure. Fingers crossed that when the contractors get there tomorrow morning, it is still charged full of pressure. Then I believe they have to purge it and run a vacuum test on it. And my latest update as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon was if that all goes as planned tomorrow, Thursday morning, first thing, their plan is to fire that thing up. We should be back up and running. But it was just a lot of issues, the failed equipment. That is just something that happens. It had nothing to do with the green energy side. It's a compressor. It sprung a leak. It happens. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. Then we were fighting issues that everybody is today, supply chain issues, staffing issues. It just really compounded everything. Me and Scott have been working in there with space heaters in our office, but it's not an ideal working situation. We have contractors everywhere now. We've told staff that needs to get into the building to do stuff. Listen, it's open. You can come in. You can get stuff. You can, if you need to come in your office and work, we've got a couple extra space heaters. But it's not ideal. So to be open to the public was just not really an option at this time. Had a conversation with Bonnie and Marcia on the tax department side, where there are plenty of alternatives for taxation purposes to get those payments made. But also they've been very, very understanding to anybody that's had to make an appointment to come in and pay for something. They've made that happen. So I think we've stayed fully functioning very well for considering the cards we've been dealt. Yeah, we're fingers crossed. Thursday morning they fire this thing up and we're laughing. So, but nothing to do with green energy, mechanical failure, unavoidable, unfortunately. And then we just ran into the issues that are today's issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Boudreau. Thank you.
No financial request. Any agenda topics for next meeting? Notice of motion by anybody? Deputy Warden.
Thanks. I'm just wondering if maybe, because this is the second time we've discussed that policy is still in draft. Like, can we think about maybe moving that forward? I know you guys have a lot of work already. Like, I know Scott's like, stop, but I mean, if it comes up again, and it just would be good to have that in place. And I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. I get that. But.
We actually had a discussion about that today. Now there's more pieces in play than just that motion. It's something that we can have discussions with you guys about that moving forward, but there may be other moving parts that make this motion maybe should have some changes made to it before it becomes a motion. So we did have a discussion around that today, myself, Scott, and Alan. So yeah, it's definitely there, and it's something that we can move forward for sure, but I think there should be bigger conversations first around that.
Yes, for sure. but it's something that we could probably plan on having at one of our meetings in the near future here to make sure. Yeah. Okay. So any questions during question period?
There's no question.
No
Warden.
questions that came through. Okay. Well, we still have an in-camera session, so I guess it's a motion to go into camera.
Motion to go into camera.
Okay, moved by Councillor Bork and seconded by well, three of them. By I saw Deputy Warden's hand first. I'll say that. Okay, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Glenn, you're gonna sit out? That was a no. Your camera's awful slow. There's something. Okay, so we'll go into camera.